There we go. We are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Land Closers Academy. We got our boy Chandler Saine on today.
What's
Chandler,
up?
say hi to the people.
What's up,
Uh,
everyone? My name is
what's up,
Chandler, if you didn't
man?
know.
I'm gonna take a
Um,
quick pic of your pretty face. Sorry, keep talking.
no, you're good, dude. Appreciate you calling my face pretty. I don't get that often these days, you know? Uh,
um,
no, but yeah, today, guys, I have a pretty cool presentation for you guys. Um, I'll be talking basically about what we're doing to grow companies to about 150K a month, around 2 million a year, above 50% margin. How we're doing that in our portfolio, kind of how I scale my company, my story, that kind of stuff. And yeah, I'm gonna be walking you guys through the things you need in your business, systems wise, which is kind of my specialty, so that you can grow your company profitably. Like the big thing I'm kind of doing this year, my whole theme for my clients, myself, is growing profit, not revenue, right? So I
I
think
love it.
a lot of us fallen into the trap, myself included, like where you go and like we're like, let's do more deals, let's grow our revenue. Um, and then we end up making less money. So that's
That's true. That's
another
very
trap.
true. And I'm only distracted because I'm getting this live link up. We got 3 people in the waiting room from the private community. I'm going to go ahead and let in here while we're going. So we'll have some people in Zoom. We're streaming live right now. For those of you that don't know, my good friend Chandler here, this guy's a savage. Okay, and I'm being friendly as I say that. So Chandler here started in house wholesaling when he was, what were you, like 19 when you got going, and
20.
20. Okay. So 20 coming from 19. And this guy, within a couple of years, scaled his business up to 300K a month with his partner. Absolute savage. And now he teaches other investors how to scale their businesses more profitably. I will tell you guys a lot of the stuff I teach, I learned from Chandler. I actually had the pleasure of coaching with him. He coached me. I didn't coach him. He coached me
My
for
bad.
about,
I
yeah.
did talk a bunch of things.
It was great though. I think we learned a ton from each other and I loved it. But I learned a ton from Chandler about just like how to grow a business like a business. I think quite literally anybody that's in our free school community knows I created my KPI video and I literally ripped off your KPI sheet and I have a disclaimer in my KPI sheet that says stolen from Chandler Saine. So I give you credit just so you know,
I
but
appreciate that.
trust me,
I
there's
love
plenty of
when I
stuff.
see people's Instagram stories and it's like my KPI sheet, and I'm just like, my boy.
Yeah, man. And now that I've shared it out in the, I mean, you put it out there, it's gone. You know what I mean? It's out there.
There's no copyright. This is public domain.
That's
So
true. That's true. But it's exciting. So we'll have a few trickle into the Zoom. These are folks that are in our private community. Some that you know. What's up, Danny? Good to see you. What's up, Cody? What's up, Leo? Josh, always a pleasure, man. So at the end, we'll do a little bit of Q&A with the guys that are on here. And we'll get some stuff in from Facebook as well. But Chandler, I know you have some stuff prepared for us. Do you just want to go ahead and get started? I might interrupt you a couple of times to ask some clarifying questions. I've got
yeah,
some questions prepared, and then we'll jump into community Q&A at the end.
let's do it, dude.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. So, do you have questions up on Facebook? Can you see them if they come through?
I can see him. Yep.
Cool. So if you guys have like and also what's up, Josh, Danny, and Cody, a couple other guys in here. There's a bunch of you guys don't have your cameras on, but if you guys have questions, raise your hand. I kind of like to keep things interactive. Otherwise, I'll just talk and talk and talk and talk, and like my tendency is to make people's eyes glaze over because I'm a systems dude. So you guys stop me whenever you get to a point where you have a question. But yeah, so I'm gonna share my screen here and kind of go through a couple things. So first, I want to talk about how I make money right now, what my business looks like, and it's a little bit different than everyone else. But I'm gonna give you guys some clarity on what that looks like. So essentially, what my whole business model is I teach a lot of people how to go and grow their companies. Like Ajay said, I grew my business to $3 million a year at the age of 23. We were doing that for a while, did a bunch of deals. Me and my business partner split up. Long story short, was educating a bunch of people on the side and was like, man, like this is a really great business. I like this a lot. It's kind of a passion of mine to just coach people. So I make a lot of YouTube videos that send people there, traffic, and then people either join my lower ticket $97 a month group, or they pay me to work with us one-on-one with our coaches, who are all 7-figure business owners as well. And then like I realized like, hey, like I'm coaching all these people, helping all these guys, make a bunch of money with my system. At this point, we've had 35 clients hit their first $100,000 a month working with us.
Let's go.
It's pretty sick, actually. That was we did like almost 30 people in 1 year do it, which was, I was like, and the coolest part was actually about it. And this is maybe not cool for every client, but my goal was to build a machine that built businesses without me. And I probably only talked to like 12 of those companies out of the 30 for last year. So that's pretty badass that I built something that basically works without me being involved. So that was
Absolutely. And I just want to highlight, Chandler, that's like 30 that you know of. I remember when Ben and I were working with you one-on-one, and you had given out your first set of awards to the community. I was like, bro, why did we not get one? And you were like, did you hit a 6-figure month? And I'm like, yeah, October, we netted over, we did like 108 or 120 or something. And you were like, oh. And so I say that story to say, I mean, we didn't go out of our way to be like, hey, dude, we hit the 6-figure month, ring the bell, but like,
Yeah.
I'm sure if we didn't go out of our way, there's probably even more clients in your
Probably
community.
over 45.
Yeah.
I haven't, but yeah, like point is like I've done this a lot. Yeah. So I know what I'm doing, but basically the whole piece of this is like I started realizing that like, hey, like a lot of these guys, like if we could give them some more support, maybe I could just like acquire them in a portfolio and like have more leverage for myself, but then also just like grow something that does, maybe 1 million EBITDA a month or a million revenue a month very easily, maybe 400 to 500K net profit a month. And then I could sell it off. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now is I have this portfolio and here's our numbers from December 2024. We started this in August 2024. We did 24K net. In December, we did 175 net. On the same amount of marketing spend, actually a little bit less. So now, obviously, I'm not a majority owner in all this, but I do have a pretty decent stake in this, and I'm really pretty bullish on this opportunity. I think all the guys we have on board with us in the portfolio are going to have a really good time. So, point is, we're doing this real time, and I'll show you kind of all the models, how the math works, everything, etc. So, basically, the way the math. Can you see this? All right, should I zoom in a bit?
Blow it up just a little bit. I can see it, but I definitely have to lean in a bit.
How's that?
It might be easier on the Google Doc. You see on the top left near the tech where it says.
Is that better?
Yeah, that looks great.
Cool. I might zoom in this picture, but the basic math model for this, and these are like rough numbers, but these are like if once you have a team fully built out, is I want to get to about $150,000 a month because I realized when I did $1.8 million in 2021, that was like the most chill business. We had like 6 or 7 people on our team. I worked like, I think in the month of April, I remember this very vividly. I was camping with my friend in Arizona, and he was like working like a full day. And I like woke up and worked at like, I don't know, 9 o'clock. And I had like 2 calls and I was like, dude, the fuck do I even do with my time? Excuse me for my language. I was like, what do I spend doing with my time? But it was because I didn't have to work. I was like 2 hours a day to maintain the business. And I realized like this is like the perfect place to be in your business. And I was like, so my whole thought process is like, if I can just own 10 of these companies and they all do this, then it will be a fantastic business model. So that's what I'm building. And that's what we're helping our clients do. So 150K revenue, 30K a month marketing. I'll talk about all this different stuff together. You have 25% commissions, works out about 37K, 5 to maybe 10K in ops, miscellaneous things. Total expenses around 70 to 80 grand, right? Net profit around 77K, 52% margin. And so the basic way that we're building this, let me zoom in. There we go. The basic way can you see that? Is that perfect?
Yeah, that looks great.
All right, sick. The basic way we're building this is we're working through 3 models, right? And so you have to go through each one in order to get to the next one, right? With the final one being, we call it the Freedom Builder model. This is my personal favorite. It's like what I do with all the businesses that I own. This is what I'm trying to get to. And so you start your solo empire. It's probably where a lot of you guys are. Basically doing somewhere between 1 and 3 deals a month, $30,000 to $80,000 in revenue. Your expenses are pretty low though. You run a pretty lean operation. You should have high profit margins, right? But you're the one who's generating a lot of revenue. So you got maybe an EA. I think that you have a follow-up specialist, which is like doing your follow-up. And you have 1 to 2 inbound marketing channels. That's what we're doing. And you have a bookkeeper. And then maybe your EA like crosses as like a dispo admin, does some other things for you, right? Once you get from there, your next job is you got to scale out of the day-to-day being like the sole driver of revenue, and you have to bring in some help. And so the help you bring in is 1, you still need the 1 to 2, maybe 2 inbound marketing channels now. You definitely were at 1 just before. Now you have another maybe 1 or 2 acquisition guys who are commission only. You have a follow-up specialist, maybe 2, depending on how many leads you have in your system. You probably have a full-time dispo admin, TC type person that can help you out. And then you have an EA, the bookkeeper. You're doing 60 to 120 a month, 3 to 6 deals. You're spending $12 to $50,000 a month, depending on like, which side of the revenue spectrum you're on, right?
Chandler,
Obviously,
can I ask? Oh, sorry. Can I just ask a
Go
quick
ahead.
clarifying question?
Mhm.
I just note that in your marketing channels here, you specifically have inbound marketing channels versus just like any. So do you want to break that down for us? Because I know a lot of people historically have used like cold SMS, cold call, that type of stuff, which is more of an outbound channel.
Mhm.
Is there a reason you have inbound specifically in here? I'm sure there is. Please tell us about it.
Yes. Yes. I'm not anti outbound marketing, right? But
Okay.
what I am anti is I'm anti like high lead to contract ratio. And so I'll talk specifically marketing like right after this. So I'll go deeper into it.
Okay. Got it.
But what I realized is like there's a hidden cost in outbound marketing, which is just the labor to close a deal. And so if you run the math, like a cold call lead is like 55 leads to a deal is kind of like where it always fell on average for us. But just sending anyone who was interested in selling, whatever, 55 leads to deal. Whereas with inbound, I can close 1 in 15, 1 in maybe 20 if I'm a little bit less efficient, leads to a deal. So I don't need nearly the amount of team. I can manage less people. And
Mm,
it's just like way easier.
there's an efficiency. Got
It's
it.
an efficiency thing. And actually, it's a complete side note. I actually had this realization last week at an event. I was at an event with the guys who were doing like 5 to 20 million a year in their real estate businesses. But there was this thing that we did like 3 years ago with Audantic, basically like see like where did you lose deals in your business. And a lot of people are like, oh, I lost like 200 deals and like unqualified. Oh, I lost this many deals here, whatever. When I did our thing, we captured like 40% of the deals in our CRM, which told me one, well, damn, we're really good at this follow-up thing. But I didn't realize what it told me then, but what I realized it told me like last week, and we saw this with inbound, is that with outbound, you just don't actually get that many sellers in your system. Like out of the 100 lead or out of the 55 leads, there might be like 1.3 sellers in there,
Mm,
like 1.3 deals in the 55 leads. And if you miss out on one of them, or maybe there's two deals out of 55. So it's like, if you just aren't perfect, like it might be 1 in 100 leads, right? If you just miss the opportunity. Whereas
interesting.
inbound, it's like, I've seen the best people converting with one lead channel. Like I have the pleasure of owning a company that generates leads for people through YouTube, and it's for us, it's our best performing channel. I'll show you in a second, where we have a 9.9 ROI on it. But
Jeez.
yeah, it's really good. But I've seen people take the same leads in the same market and convert 1 in 10, and I've seen people convert 1 in 50. The difference is the sales process and some different things that they have where they capture leads. But the point is there's a lot more sellers that come through and the cost is the same. So
Right.
that's really why it's like I can generate a lead for $50 cold calling, or I can generate a lead $50 doing inbound. It's like, which one would you rather choose?
So did you find that cost per deal like changed drastically with one versus the other?
Cost per contract is 80%, like 70% conversion. So cost per deal for this lead channel, 1,500 divided by 0.7. So $2,100. Roughly, that's an estimate, right? That's an
Right.
estimate, but roughly, yeah. Where it's the same exact number as it would be for cold call.
That's so interesting. And just to make sure everybody's getting this right now. So Chandler and I are talking about how with inbound channels, you basically have an internal efficiency in your business because it's going to cost you the same amount of money to convert these deals, but you're going to do it with less leads. Less leads mean you need less staff, less process, less deals you're looking at every single day. So there's an internal efficiency, which also means like less overhead, less time spent in the business, which then leads to, yeah, just an overall efficiency in the business. And I know we're going to talk about YouTube in a bit. Again, a big part of the audience here. I think we've got 9 people on the Zoom, and it looks like 15 with us, 16 with us live on Facebook, which is great. And we'll get a bunch more later. I want to ask you more about YouTube later, with this being largely a community of land investors, right? Land flippers, land wholesalers, and to just see what that looks like with what you're doing. While we're on a side tangent, I'm distracting you. My good friend Josh Pierce just dropped, man, that's where we're getting hung up right now. we convert 16% of our mail leads, and we're trying to figure out how to wrangle these text leads. So inefficient. Totally, Josh. And I think there's something to be said too of just last comment here, and then Chandler, I'd love to hear your take on this. There's something to be said about how, as business owners, we kind of have this craving to feel busy sometimes. Like it almost feels like if you're not doing work, you're doing something wrong in some sense. And I think sometimes cold marketing can feel that way, where it's like, hey, I got, a ton of leads. So like we have activities we can be working on, right? But that doesn't necessarily lead to the output. So that's just a really interesting delineation.
Yeah, 100%. It's like sometimes less is more. And I also, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors with it, but yeah, generally your team's got higher morale because they're not sifting through so much stuff to get to a deal, right? They're talking to people who actually are interested. They're not like having to chase these leads down as much. Like it just is a better experience for everyone. So yeah, I like optimizing for happiness too. So yeah, that's another trait of mine.
How many mountains have you climbed?
Well, dude, I'm going to climb some mountains this weekend. Just got back from Mexico.
Nice.
So
How's your wrist holding up? Chandler like destroyed his
I
wrist.
broke my hand, but it's good. I'm rock climbing again, but I'm back.
Okay.
I'm good and had
Did your
surgery.
doctor clear you to rock climb, or are you just rock climbing again?
No, I'm cleared. I
Okay.
wasn't.
He said next question.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. 4 weeks after my surgery, I went and climbed a mountain, and I was not clear to do that, but I did it anyways. I just, the rule of thumb is like if you're gonna do dangerous things, be good at them, and so I just picked to be good at it, kind of thing. That's my mentality.
Fair
So
enough. And I would call running a business dangerous. So let's tell me about this freedom builder model.
yeah, so anyways, I always like my team makes up these names for this shit, and I'm like, I always think it's funny, but I'm like, it does need a name, but I'm like, can we come up with a different name? It's funny. Anyways, point is, this is like the business model that I like the most, right? Not everyone likes his model. Like my dad runs a business kind of like a hybrid of these two for his industries, like landscape construction, hardscapes, that kind of stuff. He's building some new construction houses, but he likes to be like really like in the business. For me personally, my PI is a venturer, which means I like to do a lot of different things. So I'm really good at like plugging the right people into to systems that I build to like run them.
Interesting.
Anyways, this one basically it's like you're the CEO, you're kind of out of the day to day now because now you have more marketing channels that are reliable. You have 2 to 3 acquisition managers at this point, 1 to 3 follow-up specialists. You got a dispo rep, a TC, and a dispo admin. You have a bookkeeper and you have an EA. So it's like your team's pretty well built out where you're just kind of solving the high level deal problems. You're making sure you're doing sales management. You're making sure your dispo pipeline's getting pushed through. But a lot of your team is like pretty highly trained. And at this point, like when your team's been with you for 1, 2, 3 years, things become a lot more passive from you because there's a lot more margin for error. Your team's just really good. So you should be doing 100 to 200K a month at this range, 6 to 10 deals, depending on your deal size, spending between 40 and 100,000. You could spend a little bit more if you have like some other layers of management, but if you're going to be the main guy here, this is going to be roughly like what you're going to be doing. So
Got it.
that's like, I think it's helpful to see like what you're building as like a blueprint. So
Absolutely.
cool. So, all right. There's really a couple pillars. So I'm going to zoom this out real fast and like break
Also
down.
love the title of this doc.
What is the
Project
title?
Group,
Oh,
baby.
not even proper English. Let's go.
Yeah.
I did
So
not
good,
win.
man.
I never won a single round of spelling bee in school. Like never. Like literally, I have this toxic memory. You even said the word. It is memory from 6th grade, and this is completely off track. But I I got tasked with this word. The word was toxic, and like I literally listened to the Britney Spears song like right before class called Toxic. And I shit you not, I'm up there. My brain goes completely blank and I spelled it like TOCKICK or I don't know, something like completely wrong. And yeah, I got it wrong. But I was very confident in the moment. But yeah, that scar lives with me.
That is hysterical, dude. I'm dying. I can tell this still has a memory in your brain, which is great. The good news is you don't need to know how to spell toxic to run a six-figure net monthly business. So
No, you don't actually. It's a hot take, actually. My
all right,
favorite
let's
question.
jump back in.
All right, cool. So, but anyways, so the core pieces of this like system, I look at this from like, what are the things you have to have installed in each department? Like, what are the departments? What are the core things you have to have installed in each department to have a foundation that actually is going to run at scale? And by scale, I mean, around 2 million a year with 50% profit margins, right? So for me, when I look at marketing, the core fundamental truth for marketing is this is the number one lever you can use to increase your profit margin in your business. Because what I want you guys to think about is if you're, and I have this duck in my hand too, so sorry if that's distracting. But what I want you guys to think about is if your ROI, very simply put, is a 2x ROI, meaning you spend $1, you make two. Your marketing spend is 50% of your revenue. Okay. Now, if you just go from getting a 2x to a 5x on your marketing, now your marketing spend percent of revenue is now 20% of revenue. So you're able, just by increasing your ROI, able to add 30% net profit to your business. And so if you even take that a step further and you go from 5x to 10x ROI, now your marketing spend goes from 20% of your revenue to 10% of your revenue. And so this is how you can drive profit in your business. And I remember I asked one of my friends he they did 35 million last year in wholesale and flip, 30 million, maybe something like that. So what's the number one thing you had to focus on to go from 1 million a year to 10 million a year? And the number one thing he said was, the only thing he said was ROI, because what that does is by increasing your ROI, their ROI is like a 12 to 14x because they do some free channels, whatever. Their ROI is huge. But what that allows you to do is install management. It boosts profitability. So now if you have a down month in sales, you're still profitable. And because if you have a 3x, 4x ROI, you have a down month in sales where you miss target by 10%, 10% of revenue. Well, if your only profit margins were 20%, now you go from 20% margin to 10% margin. You got your profit. But if you're at 50% margin, your sales drop 10%. Now you go from 50% margin to 40% margin, and then your margins just drop a little bit. So you have a lot more leeway in your business. So what I'm doing is trying to only focus on high ROI business marketing channels. Channels that are working for us and our clients. Right now, big fan of YouTube. I'm a big fan of Facebook. I'm still a fan of cold call because the targeted approach it allows you to have. We use some PPL, not a lot because it's a lot more expensive, but some of our clients use PPL. And then direct mail. I'd love to do direct mail. Audrey, maybe this is something you could teach me actually, but I love how you could target specific parcels with mail and be very specific on what you can get into your CRM, because with digital, you don't get as much luxury of like controlling what it all is.
It's true.
But mail is really good. I know people who crush it. I don't know anything about mail personally, but I do know a lot about digital. So that's what we gravitated towards. And yeah. So
can I ask a question here, Chandler? Because I do know as a land investor, being able to control the properties that come into the pipeline are pretty important. I mean, it isn't any real estate niche, right? But like, so much land is landlocked, crappy, wetland, ugly, doo-doo, poo-poo pieces of land. Like I know we tested Facebook ads internally, and we just could not control quality at a level where it was just not sustainable for us. Like we were just getting so many leads of properties we did not want to buy. And so it ended up becoming a major distraction for us, and we had to pull the cord on it. Now, I will also acknowledge, like, we probably didn't stick it out long enough to like solve the difficult problem of like, how do I get this to be performing? But I'm not sure if you have a good chunk of land investors in Level Up that are doing inbound at any level, whether it's some form of PPC, because I do know some land investors that crush with PPC. I know like Bob Scott, Mike Malek. Like I know a couple off the top of my head that run their business 50 to 80% on PPC. I just don't personally. I don't know any third-party vendors that are providing it at a scale that makes sense for like a lot of investors. So I'd love to hear, especially with you being an owner on the YouTube biz, just any perspective you have there that would be a value add.
Yeah, I think that there is one guy who's doing YouTube with land. I think he just started. So I had to find out, like, I think he started like 3 weeks ago. So I had to find out exactly the results. I don't know that off the top of the head, I'll be honest.
Okay. And if you want to come back for a little case study, like always happy to have you in the community.
But what I do know, okay, generating, I spend a lot of money on Facebook and YouTube for generating wholesaler and flipper leads, right?
Right.
There's not a lot of you guys out there, and so I get a lot of people who are beginners. And what I would do, and now this is our strategy. Like I know I talked to Corey briefly, who's my partner in the YouTube company, who's the expert on that side. The whole strategy is like going to be about qualifying and disqualifying on the lead form. So I would basically make it like if it's really easy to get leads and you're getting low quality, then what you need to do is you need to make it harder to become a lead.
Got it.
And doing that by asking more questions that verify, like this is just like the first marketing change I would make, right? Is doing that by verifying on the lead form, what exactly like are the criteria for your lead? So frontage, is it land, like is it accessible? Is it in floodplain? Like I'd probably have like 5 questions, maybe 6 or 7 questions at the max to ask to basically deem is this a qualified lead or not. And then what that does is you can basically say if it's qualified or not qualified, you can feed that information back to the platform. And when you do that and you set it up the right way, then yes, like over time, it's never gonna be perfect, but it gets better. And your team is not going to get flooded with unqualified leads, right? Like you don't get flooded with landlocked leads. You don't get flooded with things that are in a floodplain or whatever else are all the common ones that you guys get. I'm not a professional land investor, but I do, work with a lot of them. So the piece of that, it would be just like to limit the inflow of the bad things.
Got it.
By having a lead form that does that for you.
That makes sense. So determine the biggest disqualifiers and filter them out in the inbound lead form.
Yeah, and I would probably also add into my marketing, like that would be a phase 1. A phase 2 would be like tweaking my messaging. The messaging is a very important piece, but tweaking my messaging to where it's like, hey, if you own a 10-acre parcel that has access to the road, like basically it's like, hey, if you want to sell your land, listen to this. Like if you have a 10-acre parcel of land that has access with 100 foot of frontage or more, then like, we can help you because we're buying like shit like that. Like it doesn't have the exact messaging, but it's like if I can make that congruent through the whole thing, it's like on my thing is like if you're an established wholesaler flipper, if you're actively doing 250K or more a year, if you're doing this, whatever it is, then that messaging needs to be congruent for who this is more specifically, and that's like probably the biggest crux in the digital side. You'll just have to do a little bit more of that because there's so much land and there's so much of it that's worthless. Whereas like a house, there's a lot more it's harder to have a worthless house than it is to have a worthless piece of land.
All right, you're insulting a lot of us here. Calm down. I'm just kidding. I've made a lot of money on worthless land, Chandler. I'm just kidding, dude. Keep cooking.
I'm like Bobby Buffet. This is his name, Bobby. Look it up. Like Gordon Ramsay.
I love it.
Name, right? Hell's Kitchen.
Yep.
All right, cool. So here's our numbers. I kind of alluded to them. 30K on spend. We got 22 contracts, cost per contract 1,500, 13 point leads to a contract, 140 revenue, projected 240. So even if half that closes, we're like an 8x. So it's still pretty solid. The thing I just went to this thing and like, here, I'll pull this up actually. I just went to this thing and the thing I wrote down that I just had a call with my team or all of our clients in our team about is brand. Because at the end of the day, like where this industry is going, I wasn't going to get into this, but I think I will. Where I think this industry is going, it's going to be like a lot of the other industries in the sense that it's going to get rolled up by private equity, I think, at some point. I don't know exactly when, how, there's some questions that are unanswered, but I think it will. Because the reason and the strategy private equity has, and the reason I'm thinking it's going to get rolled up is because I'm taking a big bet. I think that I want to sell and have a big exit to private equity. So I'm personally a believer of this. Okay. What happens is a lot of these private equity companies, they go into fragmented industries where it's a bunch of owner operators. There's no Apple, there's no Tesla, there's no like big, like in the car industry, right? How easy is it to break into the car industry? Impossible, right? You got Tesla, you got Ford, you got Toyota, you got all these big brands because they've been integrated together, right? And it's good. They have almost all the market share. Whereas if you look at wholesaling, the biggest guys have 5 to 10% market share. The biggest guys. Whereas if you look at, and that's in an individual market. So if you look at nationwide, the biggest market share nationwide is like got to be like a quarter, like a fraction of a percent. So it's a very, very, very fragmented market. And roofing and HVAC is all going through like a roll-up phase right now and on the tail end of that. It's a very similar business model. And so I believe that wholesaling is on the table to be next. Maybe it's not wholesaling, but it's real estate businesses in general are on the table to be next. But the only way that they're going to be next is if you have a brand. Because I think, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mark Spain or this guy named Chris Lindahl in Minnesota. But these guys are like the big brand, like a couple of the big brands, like the guaranteed cash offer guys. And they have a brand around this. And what it does is it allows them to make their money go further, right? So like, you guys probably all love Hermosi. Every single one of you probably likes Hermosi. And if you had the chance to meet Hermosi, you'd pay him as much money as you possibly could pay him to meet him. That made sense because he has a brand. And it's the same thing for this. It's like you want, like right now, the way it works on a sales call is that a lead, you have to convince a lead to sell to you. All of the work is done on the sales call, and you have to basically build enough trust from a phone conversation to close someone, sell them, you know, for them to sell you their land or their house or whatever you're buying. Whereas in a lot of other industries, the trust is built through marketing. So for me, most people who sign up for my coaching or to work with me, they want to work with me because I have a brand. So they come in, they book a call, and they're like, hey, I want to work with you. How much does it cost? And then that's basically the conversation. It's pretty, and the table shift is because I have a brand. Whereas no one has figured that out really in this industry. And I have an idea, and I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but I know for a fact that if we can take the things from internet marketing, online marketing stuff, and put them into this business, then it will work, and it will work really well. Because I have a client right now who's doing some stuff on Facebook, and he's running what's called a video sales letter, which is very standard in online marketing. Basically, what it does is before someone books a call, it educates them on what is about, like what we do, who we stand for, how we help people, blah blah blah. And then they both call and they're like, oh, I'm informed. I know what you guys do. I trust you a little bit more. And so he's running that campaign in Texas, and he's getting an $800 cost per contract. And his contract close rate is like 70%. So wow. It's really, really, really good. And I think there's a lot of things that we can take there. And if we can just, and the reason one of my friends' companies didn't sell is because it was so reliant on sales. It's like this business is 90% reliant on sales. We send out a message, hey, do you want to sell your property? Yes, I do. Everything's on the sales call. Whereas if we can make it, you know, let's just say 40% reliant on sales, 60% reliant on marketing, where people are coming to us and saying, hey, I know you guys are the authority. I'd really like to work with you. But I just don't know like what that looks like how much can you guys pay? What the logistics look like? And then the conversation is a lot simpler. So we don't have to have as good of closers. Our deal size is going to go up and our close rate is going to go up. So our profit, our ROI is going to go up through the roof. And the reason I think that's the most important piece is because one, it reduces the key man risk as much. You don't have to be so good at hiring. It's not so founder led. Like that's why it's fragmented. It's because it's founder led right now for most people. It's hard to scale past your own guy, your own self. And I think if you can crack that, then I think you can attract the right person who would want to buy this. And like it'll do all other things, increase your deal size, increase your close rate, etc.
That's interesting. So do you know, I guess on this topic, I feel like I see the evolution you're talking about, and it makes a lot of sense. And it also makes sense in terms of being a saleable asset, why number one, brand would matter. Number two, inbound would be more valuable than outbound, even, especially with like, we've all seen some regulations come into place where, what was that?
Sorry, keep going.
Where TCPA is becoming a risk with a lot of outbound strategies, right? And so you don't have those as much when it comes to inbound, is my understanding. I'm not an attorney and this is not legal advice, right? But like the point being, if you can avoid some fear of regulation and you have some branding in place, I could see why that's more valuable to an outside investor. That being said, I feel like I've heard of a couple of sales of some level of a real estate business in the past like year and a half. Like I know Eric Klein sold his operation out in North Carolina. I know Ren Bartlett's been through some stuff. Who, you know, Ren, I know Ren. So like, do you know, is this becoming more common? Are we seeing more sales, or are these guys pretty unique and we just happen to know them? Like what do you know? What do you know here, Chandler?
Yeah, this is a great question. I've been exploring this for a while actually. So this is like literally my whole entire 5-year plan is to sell.
Okay.
and not sell and like okay. I think Eric did a great thing. Like all these guys like who have sold for like a lot of money and like have made money, right? And it's like fantastic. But I think the difference is like in roofing and HVAC, like there's sales for 9 figures, right?
Wow.
I'm not trying to like I don't really want to sell for like 3 million or something like that. It's like I want to sell for like 50 million or more because then I can roll up and go and do that in other industries.
Right.
So the only way that's going to happen is if you can get a large multiple, right? If you get to 10 million EBITDA and you get a 5x multiple, you can sell for 50 plus million.
Yep.
No problem. Now that's a hard thing to do. First off of, it's not easy to do that. But if you can do it, then you can sell it. But right now, the way it looks, it's like it's tough to do. But it is moving in that direction. There was another sale from an undisclosed person that we were talking about this last week. They sold for fuck, what was the number? Like they sold for multi 8 figures. Not
Wow.
not crazy, like maybe like 20-ish. And so that's like kind of in this group that I'm in, that's what we're like all trying to do. So to answer your question, I don't know exactly. There's some things that have to happen, and it's got to be some evolution to the business. But what's happening right now with the markets is the biggest guys in each market are starting to take more market share, and it's because they start to have more of a brand. And the little guys are getting squeezed out because they don't have the budgets, they don't have the know-how, they don't have the acumen. But like the industry is starting to professionalize, and the cream is just rising to the top.
Got it.
So there have been some sales, which lead me to believe that we're like on the early wing of attracting private equity because they're like, I mean, yeah, I'm not a professional in all this stuff. I'm just in the early stages of building what I think can sell. But I do think that it's moving that way. And I do know that the top guys believe that it is sellable.
Got it.
And if everyone, and maybe it's all naivety, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I think that it's possible. And yeah.
Yeah, I come back to that. It might sound kind of cheesy here, but I'm going to insert it anyways. The Henry Ford quote where he says, "Whether you think you can or can't, you're right." So hey, if I know other companies have been sold, I can't promise what EBITDA these will sell for, right? I've got no idea. It's funny though because it makes me think about what we always say when we're dispoing a property, right? Like it only takes one, it only takes one buyer. It's kind of the same thing here where like we talk about private equity as like a big macro trend, which a lot of times it is. But I would bet that typically people who are on the forefront tend to be more bullish, which sometimes means they have a proclivity to overpay, especially in bull markets. So part of this, just like anything else, is based on timing, right? Which if we're about to head into some rough waters, it's a good time to build a strong foundation. A lot of competition dies. If we're about to head into a period of fast liquidity like we saw in 2020, well then buck up, man. It's going to be real easy to make money, So there's not really, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I prefer fast liquidity versus not. I think anybody in this industry does. But I think there's a lot of validity here. So this is interesting. But let's jump back into what you have prepared here too, because I know some folks tuned in might be a little bit less interested in the private equity piece. Although I love this stuff, man. I could talk about it for hours.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things. It's early stages, but I think that it's possible. Yeah, also a complete side note, a lot of people think, and if you look at the 30-year treasury, the long bond, it's like a pretty high rate. So they're also thinking that in the next around 9 to 12 months or so, there might be a recession, like probable. Like basically all the graphs show that there probably will be, unless there's some changes in that because the rates will go up. There's a lot of other factors. So, there's not a time to overextend yourself. And the whole reason that like my theme for this year is grow profit, not revenue, which is the whole entire point of this. Is you should be doing the same thing, removing all the fat, getting efficient, becoming lean, high ROI, high margin type business. So
Got it.
yeah.
I love
So
it.
it's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just a thing. So cool. All right. So that's marketing aside. Let's go to sales. We'll talk about some of the sales processes and stuff that you need to have in place, like that we're installing in all of the businesses to make sure the foundation's set up right. So basically, we're shooting for somewhere between 2 and 4 commission only sales reps, 10 to 15% commission, 1 to 3 follow-up specialists or lead managers, $1,200 a month and $300 per deal. So overseas people, because the whole thing is like the new leads go to the acquisitions guys, and then after they can't get in contact with them after 7 days, or if they're just not a fit and they're cold, they go to a follow-up specialist, and the follow-up specialist is going to be cold calling through the CRM, set appointments, and that's the basic lead model. So that way, what I find is because things are reliant on a sales call right now, you need your best salesperson answering the first call.
Got it.
It's just the truth. We can
So
see
you actually, let's drill down on that for a second. And I think this is a piece that's probably really important with inbound. So you're like, are you one call closing them then is what I'm hearing? So you'll get an inbound lead and your acquisition manager is jumping on that call, and ideally it's a one call close, or is it just more so you want continuity with the first person because you need the best closer on?
Yeah. So basically, I'm a process guy. I had this pulled up. Someone else.
I've seen a couple of these. We've
Yeah.
become more of a. Have you used Whimsical? Or are you all in on Lucid?
Dude, I'm pretty ingrained with Lucid, bro. It'd be a switch. I have like
But never
hundreds.
mind. Disregard what I said.
Okay, whimsical. I'll take a mental note.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, yeah, it's basically like we're gonna do the discovery call, and then if they're qualified for the offer on that call, then we have to ask, are the decision makers present? If they are, then we're gonna give them the offer on that call. If they're not, we're gonna schedule it for later. Ideally, it's ASAP, right? Maybe 30 minutes if they're like outside getting the groceries from the car, or later that day or whatever, right? We're trying to make sure all the decision makers are present on the call. It's more important. If the decision makers aren't present and it's more than 48 hours out, then we'll go ahead and give them the offer.
Got it.
That's caveat. Okay. Sorry, that little Zoom thing's in the way of my tabs. So basically the way the process works, from a process perspective, we need to have basically our MAO, like offer calculator, to create a first offer MAO, a cash offer MAO, and then our novation offer MAO or MLS offer MAO. So we have three MAOs that basically allow us to know exactly where we're going to offer each time, how we're going to negotiate accordingly. An underwriting process that allows us to underwrite the property to price it to sell within 15 days on market, or 7 days if it's off market. That's for us, that's our number, based on our timelines of our agreements, because we even have a 30-day agreement or a 60-day agreement. And so we have to hit these timelines in order to actually be able to fulfill on a house contract. For you guys, it might be 30 days for off market, it might be 60 days for on market. That's basically there's a formula for it, but
for sure. Actually, can we drill down just for a second? When you say a property will sell within 15 days on market, so if market values, let's just say 100K for super easy numbers, how are you guys pricing, or is it more nuanced than that? Like, are you just taking a percentage off the top, or how are you pricing for it needs to get an offer in?
Most simple form in a lot of markets we're in right now is we're just taking 90% of market value and saying that's what we'll sell for in 15 days. Now there is nuance, right? We're also taking into account like what, like I'm looking at this, I'm saying this property is 300,000, it's sold 60 days on market. Okay, well I probably need to be like 265, 275 to sell it in 15 days. Got it. If it's sold in 15 days on market or 5 days on market, like found a buyer, it's not closing, it's like finding the buyer in that time period. I'm like, I'm matching up to that property. Like, oh, that's the exact same as mine. It's worse than mine, whatever. I'm pricing it accordingly. Got it. Basically sales process. This is a vague term, but what does that mean? You need a discovery call script. So you're like intro call script, you need an offer call script, and you need to be able to transition from discovery call to offer call and have a process for that, of like what the handoff looks like. How do you put people on hold, marination mode, that whole nine. Just got to have those things documented. The other piece is a dialed in follow-up process. So like when a lead doesn't answer you when they come in, we call it working. How do you contact them? The cold leads, if someone is not a fit for an offer, but they're a cold lead, how do we like automatically follow up with them? We're going to text them every 30 days. We're going to call them every 30 days. We're going to put them in like a certain spot in our CRM and have our follow-up specialists work through them. How do we manage our opportunity pipeline? So, all this kind of stuff, right? It's like 30 days. They're going to get, if they're a cold lead, they're like, why is it a cold lead? What's the description? And then they're going to get a text and a call on a certain time frame. Same thing for warm, same thing for hot, same thing for negotiation. And that also allows me to know my conversion cycle from like If I have a negotiation, I know 40% of the negotiations are going to turn into a contract on average. So I can know, hey, if I need to get 5 contracts a week, I look at my pipeline. Oh, there's only 4 negotiations. We're probably not going to get 5 contracts this week. We got to go and figure out why our pipeline's not moving. And then also need a sales management leadership process. This is the most important one for the business. Outside of everything else, if you're going to delegate sales, is your meeting cadences. So knowing exactly, like having a process to train your team and hold them accountable is like very, very, very important. And if you want to delegate sales, you have to do this. Knowing you're having a training process.
Can I jump in here just for a quick second, Chandler? Because you dropped the A word, accountability, which I think is super important. I feel like we talk about accountability a lot with ourselves, with our peers in other like entrepreneurial masterminds or whatever. Hey, can I hold you accountable? Can you hold me accountable? But I think we seldomly talk about holding our teams accountable. It's one thing for them to be at KPI, and it's another to hold them accountable to KPI, right? And so I was watching he brought up Hormozy. I was watching a Layla Hormozy video a few months back, and I just remember she said, if you as the business owner do not hold your team accountable, their performance will suffer, which will end in one of 2 ways. You will either have your business suffer and they'll end up unemployed because you need to shut the business down, or you're going to have to fire them because they're not performing. So like you decide which one you'd rather do, but essentially you not holding them accountable actually hurts them more than it hurts you. Now it hurts you too from the sense of like, yeah, if your business suffers, it sucks. But we as like business owners need to be leaders, and we as leaders need to hold our teams accountable to whatever KPIs that we agree to, right? So I want to call that out because I think it's so easy to gloss over as a topic.
100%. I can show you what this looks like too. I think it's the most critical piece. So basically, like, here's the task of like the sales manager. They're gonna run the sales meeting. We're gonna have morning huddles, Monday to Friday at 9:30. Sales trainings, we're gonna have those on Tuesday and Thursdays, where we're gonna do like dedicated sales training to a certain topic, right? So there's weekly objectives. It's not like we're just gonna role play until our eyes bleed. No, we're working on tonality this week. No, we're working on if the seller says no, that price is too low. We're working on that objection all week. It's very specific things because we want to map. Like, my philosophy on this is you want to go extremely deep on one micro topic, because then your team will master it and then be able to move on to the next one. And you'll never have to do it again. And so you want to become the master of every single little piece that's become a problem. So it might start with, hey, let's follow the sales process this week. And the next week might be, hey, let's focus on connecting and the motivation phase of the script. Then the next week might be, hey, like, let's negotiate price more effective. Like, and then you build out frameworks for all this each week, and until you pretty much have it mastered, and then you're able to change things up a little bit, however you need to. But it's very important to do that. We have afternoon huddles, which are a little bit different, just basically more like pertinent situational things, call reviews. And then we do like a weekly sales training. This is like specifically for our clients, but and then like they're also going to analyze every appointment completed. So we're going to recomp it. We're going to listen to the call. We're going to look at the notes section, make sure there's nothing weird in there. We're basically looking to see, is the process of this lead, is it handled perfectly? Yes or no? If it's not handled perfectly, then we need to address that, because there's one thing we don't mess up in business is what I was taught when I played baseball. And I think this is the best quote for sales and for business is, we do the fundamentals perfectly, because, and like what my coach said is like, we don't make mental mistakes. That's unacceptable. Physical mistakes are acceptable, but mental mistakes are unacceptable. So in baseball, physical mistakes, missing a ground ball, a mental mistake is throwing it to the wrong base, right? And in business, a mental mistake is not following the process or not doing the activity. A physical mistake is misnegotiating or not hearing a certain phrase and mirroring it or something. You know what I mean? That's the difference. And so we have to train for the physical mistakes. We have to hold accountable to the mental mistakes, because that's unacceptable. That's a line that we have to hold. So they're going to do that. They're going to review the pipeline, make sure things are being pushed through properly. This is the hardest skill this is one of the hardest skills that we had to learn. It's pipeline management. So, and the only way to get good at it is by doing it. Reviewing all missed calls, basic things, looking at the KPIs for each week and each month, and then doing a weekly pipeline one-on-one with each person or team. And there's some other things, but that's generally the structure. So. Cool. All right. Sweet. All right. Dispo's pretty simple. I'll keep this pretty high level, and just move through because you guys have a lot of different dispo processes. But essentially, you're gonna have 1 to 2 dispo commission only reps. If you're in the model that I have built out, you could pay them base salaries if you want. Their on target earnings is about the same, 60 to 80K. Dispo admin, is going to be maybe as low as 500 if you go for the Philippines, but 1,000, 1,500 bucks a month. We use a pay at close TC. Right now it's 425 a deal. Pretty simple. And then basic process is gonna, we can go through all this stuff, but you're just gonna close the deal out. The other thing, fine, I know we're getting close on time, so I'm gonna jimmy through this.
You're good. I know some people have questions, but this is so dense, man. It's like there's not time for all the there's only so much you can hit, right? You're like, hey, here's exactly how to run a 100K a month business, and we have 30 minutes, go.
Yeah, I will hit this last piece because I think a lot of people I realize don't do this, and you should, is a monthly P&L. I mean, it's like 250, 350, I don't know, whatever per month. But basically being able to look at your profit and loss statement every single month and knowing exactly how much money is going in and going out of your account to the dollar, and reviewing on the 15th of every month to review last month. Like if you don't do that, like you should, because if you don't look at profit every month and make that your number one priority, then like you're not going to make as much money as you want. If you don't look at every expense in your account and say, how could I get a 10x? Am I getting a 10x ROI on this $1? How do I reallocate it so I can get a 10x ROI? Like even someone with a budget of like $7,000, usually I can reallocate like 1 or 2 grand to get a better ROI than they were otherwise. So you don't need a crazy budget to do this. It could be simply like freeing up $500 in BS expenses could go to marketing, and that $500 might be able to get you an extra 10 leads a month that will get you an extra deal a quarter, right? And so like that's how you add things to the bottom line and reallocate your money, because you do need to spend money. Like you're broke no matter what. So that's really my main thing on that. I just want to say that if you don't do that,
could you touch on revenue per employee for like 5 seconds?
Yeah.
Seconds.
Yeah, revenue per employee. That's an efficiency score of your business, right? So think about this. If you study, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen real fast.
Sure.
So if you study the top businesses in the entire country, I always like to go to the top. Who's the best, and then like work back to like who do I know that does something similar. So the top companies, if you look at them, have like a $1 million to $2 million revenue per employee. Probably pretty profitable when they were doing like $1 million or $2 million bucks a year, because their business model was very good. And so what that revenue per employee does is it tells you like how efficient and how much revenue does each person generate in the company. And the lower that number is, as you scale, the less profitable you'll become, because your business model is not that good or your team's not that good. So you want it to be as high as possible. I would say if you're doing a couple million a year, like 250K is an okay number. Really, you want to shoot for like 500,000 is like kind of the goal. That's like the frame you think in, because that's going to help you just make decisions that are like, how do I make more money without hiring more people, without spending more, all that kind of stuff. So
got it. And do you think about that differently with like overseas staff versus domestic?
No, not really.
Okay.
Maybe like cold callers would be a little bit different, but
sure.
I want to just hire, like, managing people for me is what I hate. And not that I hate it. I hate managing incompetent people. Let me reframe that. Managing incompetent people drives me crazy and makes me want to like bang my head on the wall. And so I don't really care who I have that works for me, because like my 2 admins are overseas, but I mean, if they lived in the States, I'd pay them like 60 or 70K a year. Like they're really good. I pay them like 1,500 to 2 grand a month, or sorry, no, 1,500 to $2,000 a month. Yeah. But they're like really good. Like I say, do this, and they do it better than I could. So I think you have to have one other piece of this that I'll add is, no matter who you hire, is the next hire should raise the bar of your team. So it's not like, does this person meet the team? Does this person exceed it and grow the team skill set as a whole? And if you use that frame, then every hire should be the next hire should be your best hire, is the frame that you think of. And if you look at the person you're interviewing and say, is this the best hire I've ever made? And the answer is no, then you shouldn't hire that person. You should keep looking.
Got it.
And so the same thing for virtual people. Now, I mean, obviously, like, is there exceptions to this? Of course there are. But the general gist is like you're trying to level up the team that you're bringing them to be a part of. So it's like,
okay, I like that. I thought that was
I
a small plug.
Oh no.
That's great. And let me ask a one last question, and then if are you okay if we go just a few minutes over, Chandler?
Yeah, dude. I got nothing after this.
Okay,
Just
sweet. Awesome. So I want to open it up to everybody on the call, and then if anybody on Facebook wants to drop some questions, I can relay those to Chandler. But my biggest one that we've been getting a ton internally is a lot of people are trying to hire their first like American closer. And so if you could maybe just walk us through the process of, you walked through compensation structure. So I think I saw like 10 to 12% plus like $300 a close contract. And I don't think you don't do base for that role, do you? Or does it kind of depend?
I'll do a draw.
You do draw. Okay, got it.
If you don't know what a draw is, basically it's like I'll pay you $5,000 as a guaranteed pay for 3 months to cover you while your deal's closed. And if you have a 10% commission and you get 5,000, let's say you get $10,000 in commissions, but you have a 5K draw, then I only pay you the 10K total. So you got like a prepayment of your commission.
Right. So you're like basically commission only, but
yeah, essentially, but you do have a guaranteed pay to bridge you over a gap. But no, you don't have to hire like that. The thing that we're pretty lucky with is now Jeremy Miner is teaching people to go commission only. So now there's a lot more good salespeople out there who want to be commission only, who are younger, hungry, all this kind of stuff. So it's pretty easy to get people commission only.
Are you so where are you recruiting from? Where's your talent pool coming from?
A lot of Indeed and LinkedIn right now.
Really?
Yep. I'm creating a solution because this is a very big problem in the portfolio. It's hiring efficiently and fast. So I got a couple things that I'm going to launch to basically build a community of salespeople, like kind of like what Cole Gordon does. We're getting it all organized and stuff, but that's going to be like what I do from here on out, probably like second half of this year, or like get that higher from there. But yeah, LinkedIn and Indeed, excuse me.
I love it. Okay, sweet. Well,
then it's just like director of real estate acquisitions is like the job title. And yeah, basic interview process, go through a discovery call. The discovery call, you're getting the non-negotiables free. Actually, here, this is the 80-20 right here. The 80-20 is knowing what you're looking for. So I'll drop this in the chat. So I think like one, it's helpful for people to go through and read this. Oh, I'm lagging.
Yeah, just a little bit. I think we're good now.
Okay, cool.
Man, he was right about to kill it.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sweet. Chandler just dropped this doc for us in the Zoom. Let's go.
Yeah. So I think it might be helpful to like read it. But basically, the whole entire idea is if you want to hire an A player, like for me, it didn't really unlock, like, okay, for me, it didn't really unlock until I actually realized like what an A player actually looked like. And you have to, like, a lot of people are like, oh, you got to hire one and then you know what it looks like. And I was thinking, I was like, how do I create something for my clients that where if they've never hired or seen an A player, how do they like know what one looks like? And then I was like, oh wait, we have a mirror. That's a mirror. A mirror can help you with that. So what I was thinking is like, if you just look at yourself, like you're probably successful. You're probably an A player. Why don't we start there? And so what I did was I made this where I studied myself, and I did it, and that was actually very helpful for me when I worked through it. And it helped me identify very clearly of like what I want. And I actually do the same thing for a lot of different things in life, whether it's marketing, whether it's dating, whatever. You can do this to find what you're looking for because then it becomes more more plentiful. Example is like if you start car shopping for red Corvettes, and you've never seen them before, but now you see them everywhere, not just shopping for it. Same psychology. So first thing I ask myself is like, what is the top 1% thing that I've achieved? What 3 specific things did I achieve and do in order to get there? Specifics. Why specifically did I accomplish this thing and other people did not? And then who along the journey made this possible for me? If I started over from square one, what would my path now be to get there? And then 6, what did I learn on this journey? Right? And so what each question is, one, it's like, what's the best thing you ever achieved? We're going to break down this amazing achievement, right? So for me, I did these all. I wrote down like the first one was like I became a state champion, a wrestler in my 4th year of wrestling, right? And so this is kind of selfish, but it's like when I'm looking through this, I was trying to think like before I had any skills, before I had any business acumen, what was the thing I achieved and like why did I achieve it? So first thing is like just what have I done that's really incredible for me? What's the most incredible thing I've done? Then what are the 3 specific things that you do to get there? So I need to know specifically what did I do in order to achieve that? Because if I know what I did, I can probably could start to, see trends in like how I did it and I could do it again. Third thing is why specifically did I accomplish this thing and other people didn't? So like there's a lot of people who probably did those certain activities, but why did I achieve it and no one else? Right? Very, very important delineation. It's like for me, I was consistent, I was reliable, I did the things every day to the best of the abilities. I was 100% perfect. That was the facts for this example. And you can read if you want. Then 4th, who made this journey possible for you? Because I didn't do it on my own without my wrestling coach and without a couple other core people that I knew, without my parents, it would have been impossible. And what that shows is that you don't want salespeople who are egotistical and not coachable. And so if no one helped this person on the journey, well, you're not going to be able to help them on their journey either. And for me, that's the most important thing is like if someone good at sales and they're coachable, and they'll be a winner. 5th thing is if I start over from square one, what will my path be to get there? To know that, hey, like I didn't do it right the first time. There's some things I would have changed differently. Means that they probably have the IQ to recreate success. 6th thing is what do they learn on the journey? What are the takeaways? How do they grow? All that kind of shit. So hopefully this helps, but I would do this exercise for yourself and study other people who you know that are like a really high level. So I think I did it for myself and I think I did it for some other people, but there's a few other things in here. So I would go through this.
I don't see my name in here. Did you not? Did you? I'm just playing, dude. Chandler, this was.
You're on the other sheet. I did a.
Oh yeah. The other sheet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dude, this has been super informative. I know we've had probably 25 people come in and out of the live. I see our good friend Jesse Bibby said, "Look at the killers on this call on Facebook."
Is that Jay Bibbs?
Yeah, what's up, dude?
Funny he was just at my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. You don't have any more what are those spiders you had out back? I just remember, guys, this is
dude,
quick side story. That was
so I was on a call with Ajay one time. He wanted to knock my door like a lot. I was like, dude, are the police there? And I go down and I just get rinsed by this pest control guy. Like for straight rinse, $273 a quarter. Dude, just dogged me. I was like, hands up. I was like, can I hire you? You are really good.
I told you, yeah, we were Ben and I were in Chandler's AirPods, so we heard the entire interaction of this door-to-door cold pest control guy. He
told me in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and he literally was like, I took pictures of your backyard. You've got black widows. And it was like, dude, what were you doing in my backyard? And this guy was like, so do you want your dog to die or do you want to sign up for pest control? And you were like, yeah, let's run it, whatever. Like, it was just the funniest thing. And we were like, yo, you got to hire this guy. Because honestly, he was a killer. I will say, I'm joking about his sales process right now, but he honestly ran through the script really well. He followed.
I was in the corner, hands tied. Then I was completely. Yeah.
It was phenomenal. All right. With that, guys, at least folks on this call here, guys, you're welcome to just come off mute. We can keep this pretty chill. What questions do you have for Chandler here, if any? I know you went through a ton, but just come off mute. Nick, I saw you come off mute first, dude. What you got?
Yeah, I guess my biggest question, right now our team is 1 lead manager and 1 acquisition manager. And so we're doing texting mainly. So from launch control to the CRM, and it's just one public pipeline essentially. So the leads get submitted, the lead manager calls them from lead in, and then I take it from offer call and so on. When you have 2 or 3 um, lead managers and acquisition managers, are you separating like the pipeline so they can only see like what they have to work on? Or how does that look like once you, I guess, make everything more complex?
Yeah, good question. It does get more complex. Simple answer is everything is first come, first serve from a lead basis. Once the lead is claimed and called, it can only be owned if it's a hot lead, which basically means that like this is someone who's an appointment criteria, but maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe they're going through probate. Maybe they need to talk to their accountant. Whatever it is, right? But it's like that's that person's lead, but you have to help them manage that pipeline. If they
Yeah.
mismanage it, then it gets kicked to someone else. Everything else, if they don't answer, if they're a cold lead, then they go to anyone. It's anyone's game pre-appointment. Post-appointment, once the appointment's set, is everything is owned by the acquisition manager, as long as there's a clear next step and the lead's not mishandled. When the lead is mishandled by managing the pipeline, it gets kicked to someone else.
Okay, so you're kind of penalizing them if they.
Like, so we created this thing called the crack list, and basically what that means is it's like where things were mishandled. Yeah, crack list. Like, you know, you can look at
My wife and I are
my
watching Breaking Bad
visual.
for the first
My
time. so
visual was the little thing between the seat and the console. That was my visual. Now, some other people, I don't know what your visual might have been, but point is the crack list. And basically what happens in there is the best guys, I tell them like, hey, like check this every day. And then
Yeah.
if it goes in there, it's your lead and claim it like it's a new lead. So basically it's like don't mess it up. And if you want to like, it's like don't make mental mistakes. We don't make mental mistakes. If you do, you lose your lead. That simple. Obviously, if it's a negotiation or a hot lead, we got to have a conversation about it. You can't just take it, call it randomly, whatever, because it's like there's context there.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally speaking, that's it.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question about that? So I've got 2 acquisitions managers right now, and I've got one guy managing the mail pipeline and one guy managing our text pipeline. And for example, on Friday, a text lead came in, and we didn't get on a discovery call with him at all. And today, the guy actually came in through our mail pipeline. He must have received a letter. He called, and I see, okay, this guy's assigned to lead manager, or acquisition manager 1. But it's been 4 days and no discovery call has been had. And I've got a big problem with that. Like, if I see that and I'm like, okay, 1, our mail pipeline converts at a very high rate. Our mail closer is way better. So what I see is an opportunity to pass this to the guy that's most likely to get the ball across the finish line. But I paused and I was like, wait a minute, let me give him to the end of the day today to get this guy on the phone. And if tomorrow comes around and he hasn't had a discovery call yet, I'm passing it to the mail guy, because I feel more confident that he's going to close them anyways. So I guess I'm curious, like, how would you handle that? And I know that's like a very niche kind of
no, it's a good
like
question.
where they come in like that, but where one's better and they're kind of mishandled in that way.
Yeah, I would say that if it's mishandled, I have a zero tolerance, because you only, like, people fall to the standard that you hold, not the other way around. They don't rise to the standard.
Yeah.
They fall to the standard you allow.
Yeah.
So if it's mishandled, like process wise, like I'm not even gonna think twice about it. And if they ask, like, I probably wouldn't even like say anything. But if it's like they were to ask, be like, well, here's why. Very, very simple. 1, 2, 3. But and that's an expectation that everyone has on the team, right? You can't just cold do that, right? You got to be like, hey, we're here to follow the process right. We're here to do things the right way. And if we don't do things the right way, then the people who are doing things the right way get more opportunity. And that's winners win, losers lose. And that's how we run business. And your team needs to be on the same page. So you guys are winners. You want to be here, right? So anyways, as long as you have that expectation right, I think you do what you said. If it's a male lead too, just simple things like your gut was totally right. Like, lock it up right away.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Don't waste it with the other guy.
Like our text pipeline, we get on the phone with like 30% of the people that raise their hand that could push it into our CRM, so that's inefficiency number 1. Whereas we close 15% of our leads that come in our mail pipeline. So, but yeah, I think the bigger thing is, kind of my big takeaway is zooming out and seeing an opportunity for a culture shift to like, hey, these leads, we've got a no tolerance policy going forward.
Bro, I'll tell you firsthand, just one of the companies we took into our portfolio, they were doing like, I don't know, 20K a month, not anything crazy. 45 days. I'm trying to think if it's exactly 45 days. Somewhere about 45 days after I started working with them and our team started working with them, they closed 65, like they're closing $65,000 in February. God forbid the deal fall through, but it's already signed, already passed. You get the gist, right? It's way better. The only thing that I did was tell them to hold a higher standard for the team, exactly like how you did. That's the only thing we changed, and then the team started locking up more deals.
Wow.
Like I know it sounds crazy. That's the only thing we changed, and then it started working. So I would say like if you have it, like they're like restarting the business. Is long story short, but that was the acquisition guy just needed a kick in the ass.
Nice little refresh, yeah.
Yeah, and like he wanted to be a winner, he just wasn't led in the way that he needed to be to that point.
For sure. That's so good. Cody? He's looking for his unmute button. There he is.
Yeah, I was looking for it. No, actually, I don't have any questions. It's been awesome.
You don't have any questions?
No, man. Want me to ask one? Make one up on the
Only if
spot?
it's good, man. Chandler's time is
Cody,
like
what's your favorite
$1,000
color?
a second, so we can't afford bad questions here.
No.
I paid 25 grand for this Zoom today, guys. Just so I'm just kidding. Chandler was very generous. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'll send you the invoice later, dude. Danny, you got anything, brother?
Oh, I become a state champion in wrestling.
Bro, go up, dude.
That's all I got.
Danny's
I
gonna go
love
on a hike in the Grand Canyon and send us all pictures.
Yes,
do.
let's do it.
Let's go. I don't see any questions in Facebook here. If you guys in Facebook, Chandler dropped his SOP for us on how to identify A players. If you guys want that in Facebook, drop a yes in the comments, and if I see enough yeses, I'll go ahead and drop it in the comments. What I did already drop in Facebook was the Calendly link for anybody that's interested in working with Chandler's team. So if you guys are interested in Level Up, do you want to say anything about Level Up and anywhere else to reach you, Chandler?
Dude, follow me on Instagram. Hit me up there, book a call with us if you want us to implement this like business model into your business. You know, we have a pretty our team is all a bunch of like our coaches are all individually like hand selected. They all have ran or run their own 7-figure company right now. So they're not like fly by night guys who don't know what they're doing. I talk to them all the time. They're trained by me. But yeah, if you guys want to see what that would look like to work with us, just book a call. Ajay, do you have that calendar link? I accidentally closed out of my app where it's at.
Yeah, I dropped it in Facebook where everybody is live. So we'll post it on YouTube too and get it in the
Hit
comments.
me up. I'll have my team give you guys a discount for being with Ajay, for being in our program. So it'll make sure that it's worth your time. So
let's go. Let's go. Sweet. Any last words of wisdom you want to impart on us land investors doing a bunch of cold outbound, getting super slow cash conversion cycles? I'm totally teasing here.
get faster cash conversion cycles and use inbound. I'm just kidding. No, I think land's great. I think you should be building new construction if you're not already. And be
really?
I'm maybe okay. I don't know. I'm just maybe I'm wrong. I feel like
he's like, hey guys, just start another business. All right, peace.
I personally think that like I don't know. I mean, maybe do horizontal development. I think like at the end of the day, you can do what you're doing, but I think for me is what inspires me. This is everyone. You gotta know everyone's bias. Get into something that is going to. I always want to be getting into something that's bigger, pushing me to be a better version of myself and learn new skills. And sometimes that means more risk. Sometimes it doesn't. But I think like you want to acquire new skills. So maybe that means doing development. Maybe that means creating a land fund. I don't know. There's a million ways it's going to cap, but I'd say like if you feel stuck in your current place right now, is like just work on bigger projects and you'll feel a lot more passion and joy for what you're doing. So
I love it. I love it, dude. Well, thanks so much for the time, Chandler. Appreciate you, brother. And if there's anything else we can ever do for you, especially me, man, give me a holler.
For sure. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
All right.
Chandler.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.